Big Red, the most famous sand dune in Australia, and the biggest in the Simpson Desert. Little did we know that it was to be the least of our worries over the next 3 days.
They're doing what it cost me a day. Holy shit.
Does that sound good?
Yeah, you'll have fun.
Alright, welcome to today's episode, people. This is going to be a big one. The first day of this desert crossing, so we've got to get some permits. Just had breakfast and we're going to attempt the crossing. 2, maybe 3 days. I'm pretty nervous. I think these boys have got no emotion.
Cold, hard.
We'll see how we go. This guy's too dull to have emotion. But we're going to give it a crack. Alright, let's hit some sand on these absolute Titanics. We've had some really bad comments over the last 2 days. Actually, there hasn't been one positive comment. Not one. Not one. Apart from, oh, good on you for trying, that type of comment. Great stuff. Can we make it? Only time will tell. Follow for the next 5 minutes to see how far we get. So, after all them lovely early morning negative comments during breakfast from all them travellers that have just come from the desert, we were off on our short 40k tar road section to Big Red. As you can tell, there's no more audio from the camera in these videos. My external mic stopped working early on in the trip, so unfortunately you'll have to put up with the narration. We'll be doing the French line for our first trip across the Simpson, which is the most well-known and direct crossing. Therefore it's the busiest way to cross, which can be a good or bad thing, I guess. We are travelling east to west, so we'll be hitting the 1,100 sand dunes the more steeper and apparently harder way. This is due to the prevailing winds that shape the 1,100 sand dunes with a gentle slope on the west side and a steeper slope on the east side. Will this make much of a difference? Well, I guess we'll have to find out. We get to the bottom of Big Red and contemplate what we are about to do. At this point my nerves had disappeared after looking at Big Red. I had a different picture in my head and this looked, well, easy compared to what I had in my head anyway. Up I go on my first attempt with a big run up. The first half was no problem, but something didn't feel quite right as I got closer to the top. I had to paddle and really give the bike some boost to get up there. If they were all going to be like this, then we were in trouble. I got to the top and banged it down to first gear and dumped the clutch to get out of the hole. Nothing. No drive, like the chain wasn't even fitted. But the chain looked fine, so the clutch must have gone. After 4 days, it looks like my trip is over. I walked back to the hill to watch Grant come up. He absolutely smashed it, riding the DRZ like he was on turn 1 at Phillip Island. This footage I know looks sped up, but this is real time. Pado's turn next, and after he got at 1 with his motorcycle, he got to the top on his third go with a bit of paddling, just like me. It was not a good start for me and Pado. At this stage, Grant was the only one with a chance of crossing this desert. I couldn't believe it. After all that planning, effort and costs, I had barely made it onto the dirt and the bike was broken. I'd spent hours and hours on this thing, checking and rechecking. I bought a low hour bike, I went through it with a fine tooth comb, and it was something internal that I hadn't checked that had failed me. I was gutted. We all went back to my bike to make a plan. We had a quick look for anything obvious and saw there was no free plate left on the clutch cable, which is a sure sign of clutch wear. But I just couldn't understand why. We had done nothing to wear the clutch up to now. Big Red was the first real tester of the trip. We had a look at the cable and saw that it was quite tight around the headstock, and when I turned the bars full lock, it was getting caught underneath the steering lock boss. It was stretching the cable and therefore riding the clutch. Then I remembered I had just changed the handlebars and put a steering dampener on in a few weeks before, which raised the bars and put them forward a couple of inches. This changed the routing of the clutch cable, and I hadn't checked it properly after the job was done. You can see Paro shaking his head in disgust here at my mechanical efforts. So we took it all apart, rerouted the clutch cable and adjusted the free plate back into the system. I jumped on it to give it another shot and it felt perfect. I had a good few goes at Big Red, played around at the top of the dune with no worries at all. But now we had a dilemma. No, not the famous Welshman, but a decision to make. The clutch would have definitely been worn by now, slightly dragging for the 2000 k's to Birdsville, and Big Red was the straw that broke the camel's back. We had a toolbox meeting and we had three choices. Option 1, go back, forget about crossing the Simpson, go the long way around and still continue on and finish the trip. 2, go back to Birdsville for the night, take the clutch out, measure it up and decide what to do from there. Or 3, just send it. So guess what? We decided to send it across one of the most isolated tracks in the country. We figured there was loads of four-wheel drives around this section of the desert and we were close to Birdsville. If something happened in the next couple of hours, we should be able to get a lift out, no worries. So we thought we'd get to Air Creek, camp there for the night and analyse the situation there. But we didn't even get 500 metres before the next drama unfolded. Grant, the Big Red Slayer, wasn't having the best of times now. He had come off a few times and done some damage to his ankle, and he was nowhere to be seen. So we went back to check on him. He was exhausted, and with the ankle injury, it would have been silly for him to continue when we were only at the very start of the desert. We had only done 2 sand dunes out of 1100, and now we had to make the second biggest decision of the trip. Do we carry on with just me and Paro, or do we call it off altogether? After a long and difficult conversation, Grant headed back and me and Paro decided to head out into the unknown, bearing in mind that neither of us could get up Big Red properly just 2 kilometers ago. It was early afternoon and we were 2 k's into a 500 kilometer crossing on day 1. It had been a hell of a first day. What else has it got in store for us? Well, apart from me losing the bike jacket after I tied it to the back when it got hot, all went well. We did the 20 k's of dunes to Air Creek, then we worked our way north along the bypass and crossed the creek 30 k's up from the flooded crossing. It's a bit weird crossing a creek in the middle of the desert, but the rains don't really fall here. They fall up to 1000 k's north and they all drain all the way down to Lake Eyre through the Simpson. The bypass had only just opened a few weeks ago after all the floods this year, so we are pretty lucky to still have been able to cross. Who knows when the main crossing will be open. Check out how green it is out here. It doesn't really look like much of a desert at this point. The creek crossing was a non-event. Paro walked it for me because I don't like wet boots and he's a good guy, and we rode through it just at foot peg height really. It was nothing. It was one of the major concerns of the trip, with us thinking it was going to be really deep and we might get into trouble. Funny how the things you worry about become nothing and the nothing becomes major drama sometimes. We did the 30 or so k's south back to the QAA line and decided to camp up in between a couple of dunes. Day 1 had provided us with enough dramas and we were done. We were just over 100 k's into the crossing with the hard parts yet to come. And that's it for day 1. I'll leave you some more footage and pictures and we will carry on in the next episode. Stay tuned for some more dramas. Oh well, that's the riding done for today. We've done 100 k's, but I think we've still got 430 k's to finish this desert. Yeah, found a mobile phone. I lost a jacket, found a mobile phone.
Winner, winner. Hello.
Bit of roast chicken, mashed potato. That's tonight's meal in the tent because the flies are nuts. Be alright when the sun goes down, but I don't want to eat after the sun goes down either, so just charge up all my stuff. And yeah, we'll have a fire tonight, we'll see how we go. Big sleep ready for tomorrow. And the sunset. Ooh, looks good on camera, that one. As Viper once said,
You had a hell of a first day.
so we were 3, we're down to 2 now. Grant came off and done a bit of damage to his calf, I think, and he was exhausted picking the bike up and stuff, so he decided to call it. Probably good decision early on, so he's gone back. I think he's going to go around the Plenty Highway and meet us in Alice Springs, which is like a 2,000k detour for him. But we'll meet him in Alice Springs and then we can finish off the rest of the journey. But it was, yeah, once I got used to the bike with the weight on the back, it wasn't too bad really. It was just like riding a beach boat with a settee on the back. A big settee, like a really big heavy settee on the back. So yeah, let's see how Pato went. How was your first day in the sand?
It was a tough introduction to the Simpson Desert. Big Red golded me up a couple of times. But practice makes perfect.
Third time lucky?
Yeah, third time lucky.
And you burnt a bit of fuel off the front and made it better?
Yeah, so yeah, it's good. Enjoying it.
Yeah, an eventful day. I mean, there's always going to be issues doing this kind of thing. Hopefully every one of them's small. Alright, that's it for now. Check in the next episode for day 6? Was that day 5 today? I don't know. It says in the title anyway what day it is. We'll see you in the morning.
Phosphorescent.